Welcome back, everybody. This is the Johnny-mar, and I am continuing with Final Fantasy III for the PSP. So in between episodes, you will notice that I leveled my party up to level 20, and that is because, as I noted in the last episode, you want to be around the same level as the bosses for the upcoming areas. And so the boss of the next area is level 19, so we want to be around level 20. So in my last episode, we came here to the Dwarven Hollows, and as you will note, they are all very happy because we returned with their Horn of Ice. So they have some mystical artifacts called the Horn of Ice. There's actually two of them, so there's two horns. And one of them was stolen by a thief named Gutsco. So we had to follow Gutsco into the subterranean lake underneath the Dwarven Hollows. We beat him last time. And now we are going to return with the Horn of Ice, which, as noted by one of the dwarves in my last episode, is their precious. But they are very excited and happy that we got the horn back. So they're going to put down the barrier. They're going to allow us to put the horn back onto the pedestal. You know, you'd think they would do it, right? That they would want to handle it since it's such an important item to them. But oh well, we will do it for them. So it has been returned. All right, let's get out of here. Wait a minute. That shadow that was following us this whole time was actually Gutsco? And now he's just gonna take the horns again? You mean it was just a plot the whole time? He stole the horns of ice. Why do you keep stealing them? And how did you do that? Now Gutsco is going to completely ignore the how did you do that question. And instead he's just going to tell us, basically the horns of ice are required to get into the fire cave, which will allow him to access the fire crystal and become very powerful. And he's going to run. And now we have dramatic music playing over. Oh no, both of them have been stolen. Gutsco is headed to the mountain to the north, and it is up to us, again, to get the horns back. He took both of them. We're in big, big trouble. I mean, you are. And I guess it's up to us. Last time you had the excuse that you couldn't swim. This time I guess the excuse is you just don't want to head after him. Many of them are going to say the same things. I do like the dwarf here by the door. He's like, we've been had again. I mean, I guess we were had, right? We saw the shadow. We knew it was behind us. Yet we didn't really pay much attention to it. So we're going to head north here to this cave. There's a chocobo forest in that woods there to the right. We're going to avoid it, and we're going to head into the fire cave. I think it's actually called like the Molten Cave. Yes, the Molten Cave. Now, if you came here before, there was a kind of pillar of fire there blocking you from being able to continue into the fire cave. Now, that doesn't mean you couldn't level in here, that you did have enough room in the entranceway to be able to, level if you wanted to. So you'll notice we're taking damage as we head through the lava. Now what's interesting is we are wearing the ice armor. Now in the original, if you wore a complete set of ice equipment, you did not take damage from the lava. But in the remakes, they got rid of that little extra, and essentially we will take damage. Now the enemies in this area, as you might expect, are weak to ice. And it is a good place to level. So when you are grinding for levels, you might want to come here because a lot of the enemies do drop items. And they also have items for you to take from them with the steal command. And those items are attack items. So things like the Antarctic Wind, which are going to be very helpful against the boss of this area. There you go, on cue. Now the damage you take in the lava flows is not based on steps. It's actually based on time. So the longer you are in the lava, you're going to continuously take damage. Now the damage is relatively negligible. It's a few points of hit point damage per second that you are in the lava. But it's something to really keep an eye on, especially as you are fighting, because as characters are taking damage in battle, they then will continue to take damage out of battle in the lava flow, and it's something you really want to be careful with. Now we do pick up a freezing blade, which is of course useful for our melee fighter, so we're going to equip that right away. We'll get rid of the fire-based Salaman sword. We'll head under this lava waterfall, which is a very cool effect. And we'll continue to pick up kind of all of the chests and extra items in this dungeon. Now I am having to heal pretty much after every fight. Because again, the enemies are doing lots of damage and the lava flows themselves are doing damage as well. Now, another difference between the remakes and the original is that you used to be able to go to Geisel before coming in here to the Molten Cave, and you used to actually be able to purchase the Ice 3 spell, which was a lot of help against the boss of this area. Now, like the original Final Fantasy, when they made the remakes, they got rid of some early game items that were basically a little OP. Now, I personally think they should have left that in. I think it was appropriate. But they got rid of it. So you can still buy all of the same old spells, level 3 and level 4 spells in Geisel. And we'll be doing that in my next episode. But they did get rid of the opportunity to get Ice 3. So that's why I don't go to Geisel before I come in here. Since they got rid of that majorly useful spell, it's not really... And you would think the boss would pop out of there, right? That just seems like a dramatic point. But we're gonna rest and get ready. And we'll head to Geisel next time, after we return the Horns of Ice and take out Gutsco here. But there he is. He has gotten the power of fire from the fire crystal. And he says he has to defeat us in order to get the true power from the Crystal of Fire. He says, die. And apparently, now he weighs a ton. And he's just going to walk in place. Well, we've beaten you before. Oh my goodness. So, remember that snake that was around him? I guess he decided to turn into a large dragon named Salamander. So, as you might expect, the attack pattern is pretty basic here. We're going to use our physical attacks with some of our characters once we have gone through and exhausted our supply of attack items. So all of those ice-based items we've been saving up, the Antarctic winds, we are going to use them. Because Salamander has 5,700 hit points. This really, the Molten Cave is the first major kind of step up. It is the first major hurdle point of the game. And it's not really because Salamander is physically imposing, although he's pretty scary looking, right? It's more so because he has a party-wide attack. So he has a fire breath attack that will do about 250 to 300 points of damage to your entire party. So as you might expect, if he uses that and then either physically attacks someone afterwards or uses it 2 times in a row, I'm not even sure he can do that, but if he could, and if you're at a lower level, if your HP is not above 400, you are going to be in some serious trouble. So that's why we leveled up to level 20, and that's why we're using our attack items. We want to try to kill him, and here comes the fire breath, as quickly as possible. Because our white mage is going to have a very hard time keeping up with that attack. And as you might expect, when he gets lower on HP, he's going to start using it repeatedly. Again, I don't know if he uses it twice in the same turn, but he definitely will start using it every turn. Now you might think, well, why can't you just use the level 1 ice abilities, like Blizzard? Or the staves? And the answer is, for some reason, when you try to use them on Salamander, they do very little damage. Like, you have to use at least Ice 2 to do any real damage to him. Here comes the fire breath again. Ow. Oh, man. Well, yeah, thankfully, he attacked our outside characters. But this really becomes a war of attrition. Now, if you did grind in the Molten Cave and you picked up a bunch of extra Antarctic winds, this battle goes much quicker. Because obviously you can keep using those instead of having to physically attack like I am. But I'm showing you what it's like if you didn't do that. I actually did my grinding. Oh man, stay alive. Okay. I did my grinding in the subterranean lake down where Gutsco was by his pile of gold. And that's because that area actually has a much higher encounter rate. And the enemies do the same amount of experience. So you get roughly the same amount of experience and you get in fights seemingly a lot quicker. So it's faster to do the level grinding there than coming here. Oh man. And Lunith once again kills the boss with his special attack. I mean, it wasn't a special attack, it was a critical. That's 2 bosses in a row. Maybe 3, I don't remember. I think he might have killed Medusa too. But we did it! We beat Gutsco! Again. And we got both Horns of Ice this time. And, more importantly, we're gonna get blessed by the Fire Crystal, which will give us access to our new jobs. So brand new jobs for the first time in many hours. Now, I'm not gonna use many of those jobs. At least, not a lot. They will occasionally come into play, but I will be using one of them, and that is the Knight class. So I'm going to be switching Ingus over to the Knight class because it is basically an upgrade over the Warrior. It has slightly better stats, and when you're equipped with a shield as the Knight, you are able to defend other characters that are low on health. So he will kind of jump in front of other characters and protect them when they're physically attacked. Again, if you've played Final Fantasy IV, Cecil in Final Fantasy IV does that as a paladin. The other 3 jobs, not as helpful. Geomancer allows you to use a pretty nifty ability, which is an elemental-based, kind of magic-free, you don't have to use MP, ability. The Ranger class allows you to attack from the back row without losing damage, which is nice, not super helpful. And the Scholar is a big help in the next area. So we're actually going to be switching to the Scholar class once we head to the next dungeon. But I will talk a little bit more about the Scholar in my next episode, because it will become more relevant again in the next dungeon. I'm also going to grind up to level 22, because the next boss again is at level 22. And I'll do that grinding here in the Molten Cave. So our goal then is to get a lot of those attack items, because the attack elemental items are actually super helpful against the next boss. So as always, viewers, thanks for watching. I'll see you all next time when we'll head back to the Dwarven Hollows, give them back the Horns of Ice, and then we'll head on and see what the world has to hold for us. So long.